So I was just having dinner with one of my friends, and he bought a condo recently, and he was talking about, he wants to buy a parking space and all that stuff. And I was like, dude, you have no money, you're broke, man. You can't even buy a meal. And one of the things that I realize is he's buying all these parking spaces, he's getting new cars, he's getting like a condo. He has no money at all. But how's he getting it? He's borrowing it. It's crazy. I mean, all of my friends that are buying houses and stuff like that are now borrowing, like, they're just borrowing the money, and they're paying like $500,000 for those things. And I'm like, dude, man, you can't pay. It'll take you like 20 or 30 years to pay it all off. And they're like, oh, that's fine, man. I probably won't keep it for that long and whatnot. And this reminds me of 2008, 2006, when, everybody's like so optimistic about real estate. I know Canada has been like, you know, deemed the safest kind of country in terms of bank failures and things like that. But I think that's going to head out the window soon. I mean, I don't know. That's what I think. But something happened in BC not too long ago. I think a month ago. They put in this foreign tax, right? Essentially, if you're not born in Canada or you're not part of Canada, well, a citizen of Canada, you're gonna be taxed for buying property, right? And you have this 29-year-old girl, and I know some 29-year-old girl in Toronto that has bought $1 million properties. Unbelievable. They can barely, they don't even have a job, and they get enough for that loan to borrow that loan at the bank. Let me go down here a bit. So she just, it says she clobbered up together 10% deposit on a $500,000 home from China, right? From her friends and stuff like that. So, I can guess what she's planning to do because she doesn't want to work, right? So what happens is a lot of Chinese people are buying these property as investments, and what they do there is, hey, they separate into floors and then they rent them out and things like that. I mean, everybody knows that, and I think that's exactly what she was trying to do, and she got caught in the midst of this 15% tax thing, and to richer Asian, Chinese, or whatever people, 15% is not a lot, but the Vancouver market has started kind of crashing, not crashing, but going down a bit. But let me go down a bit more. So now she's suing the, I guess, the government or whatever there on this tax that happened, all right, which is the property transfer tax, because um it's just, she just can't pay for it. Doesn't want to pay for it. One of them. But this kind of shows you something. It shows you that, hey, a lot of people that are buying houses here in Canada, in Toronto, in Vancouver, they don't have the money. They're borrowing, money from the bank to buy it, and then they're trying to kind of either flip it or kind of rent it out and stuff like that. They have no money at all, which is pretty bad for, Canadians that are here, that, that are born here, or um, been here for a very long time, been working. They're trying to get a house and they can't get a house because somebody just came from another country and just borrowed money from the bank. Because I think if they are not Canadian, right, the banks will lend them more. That's what I hear, but I could be wrong. But that's what the other girl that was like, I don't know, that bought $1 million house that I know did, because apparently they get more if they're not Canadian yet, I guess. I don't know how to say it. But anyways, let me go down this thing. Look at this. Record BC real estate revenue to fund affordable housing projects, which is like, I don't know, when you have to do this, it's just saying that the economy is pretty bad or is not sustainable to the regular citizen, which is of course not good. Let me go down a bit more on this one. So this is even more crazy. You notice students own over 57 million worth of basically Vancouver real estate. And these are people that have rich daddies and mommies in China, or I guess other Asian countries. And how that happened is that, all the factories moved from the US to China, right? And that's where they manufacture stuff, and then I don't know what they're doing, but essentially they make a whole lot of money there, and then they come to Canada to buy up the real estate because the, the money there is basically paper, right? So, well, it's paper here too, but essentially, the Chinese people just don't like keeping paper money, so essentially they start to buy real estate and things like that, and the market just really, really crazy, especially in Vancouver. My friend just bought a house, and she had to like get her parents in on it and stuff like that to get that 1.5 million. And I looked at the house. I was like, wow, you could go to another city and buy a bigger house, right? She's in Vancouver. So, she was born here in Canada, and her husband was born in Canada too, right? So the thing is, they can never buy a $1.5 million house, and I don't know how long it would take them to actually pay it off because I didn't ask about it. Essentially, and they had to borrow from the parents. So, you know, the housing market is just getting really, really bad, especially. I think it's gonna get worse in Toronto because what do you call it? And I think Toronto might do the tax thing. The thing is, why did let me go back here. Why did Vancouver even impose this foreign home buyer tax, right? They did it because they feel like, hey, something is going to happen. Something bad is going to happen. Usually they like to kick things down the road, right? We all know that. They like to kick things down the road. They're like, oh man, we'll solve it later. We'll just like whatever. When they do that, it really scares me. And then when I see all my friends buying stuff because they're, borrowing money, it really scares me even more because it makes me feel like, hey, something's gonna collapse or something. Because usually people don't really care about the topic unless it becomes a big problem, right? So when they start putting in these taxes here, you kind of realize, hey, there's a problem. There's a big enough problem for them to make a difference, to actually, impose this tax. And I think Toronto is going to see that um, sooner or later. I know right now they're saying, hey, we're not going to do it. But when things start hitting the fan, they're going to be they're gonna do it. They don't care what they said. They're gonna do it. Once things start hitting the fan, I think that's why things are hitting the fan with Vancouver. That's why they imposed the tax, right? And let's be honest. To be honest, she's 29 years old, and let me go down here a bit. A university student. If you're 29 years old and you're still going to university, I don't think you pretty much studied. But most of the people that graduated from university in China is around 21, 24. Even in Canada, right? You would be around 21 to 24. But when you're 29 and still just, still a university student, that doesn't look good. It just means, hey, you don't want to do anything productive, right? So that's how it is. Because I have a sister that's been in school for 10 years. And she basically took off all the loans and then, I don't know, applied for something which, the government paid for. And I kind of realized, hey, you don't really want to study. You don't really want to. And that's exactly what's happening here. I feel a lot of students, they have rich mommy and daddies in China or some other Asian country where they have manufacturing stuff, right? So I feel that's where all the money is flowing now. Like, they're flowing from the U.S. into China, and then Chinese are buying up the property here, which is making it more expensive, and it makes it worse for the Canadians. That's one thing. Second thing, when things start, it just feels like things are starting to hit the fan because you notice that, they impose the tax as one thing, and I'm looking around. All my friends are like so happy. Oh man, you gotta buy this, dude. You're buying $500,000 unit. Yeah, man. Where are you getting the money? I'm borrowing it, man. Where are you getting the money for the new car? I'm borrowing that too, man. And then you're like, where are you getting money for the parking space? I'm borrowing that too, man. I'm like sitting there. Wow, that's not very, that tells me, hey, this entire thing is run on debt. And it's pretty bad. I mean, when things hit the fan, especially I don't know when, but hey, the last recession was what, 2008, and then before that was like the dot-com bubble. So, 10 years, and I don't know, we're pretty close to 10 year, right? So once that thing you know, starts hitting the fan, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I can feel that it'll be soon, especially with the Vancouver real estate market, right? So once this thing happens, these guys, these $1 million worth students that don't do anything or whatever, is gonna go to Toronto, and then Toronto's gonna do something, and then things are gonna happen, and we'll see what happens. Anyways, I don't know. I just wanted to make a video because I saw this post. I was like, gosh, man, they really need to fix this thing up because obviously it doesn't make sense. People are buying $1 million houses that you know never seen in history, and they could never pay it off. That's the thing. Well, I don't think they can pay it off, anyways. Anyways,